Hey everyone, and welcome to my take on the childhood book tag. Now, I have stolen this video from Aoife at Pretty Purple Polka Dots, so if you haven't checked out her channel before, make sure to do that. I'll link her down in the description. But she did the childhood book tag, I think it was last week, and I really enjoyed the tag because it made me reminisce about some of my own reading experiences from when I was younger. So I thought, why not come here and share them with you? So I'm just going to run through the list of questions, share a little bit about what got me into reading and how my reading habits have been formed over the years. I am 25 now, so I have many years to draw from, but my memory of my childhood reading is not the best, so I've come up with the kind of most accurate answers I can get. I might be wrong about some of them, but you can't fact check it, so that's fine. So question number 1 is the first book you remember reading on your own, and these would have to be the Magic Key books. I don't know if they have them in America, but in UK we have a series called Magic Key. It features the characters Biff, Kip and Chipper, and Biff, Chip and Kipper. We'll get there. They definitely taught me to read well because I can't even say their names properly. But it's two kids and their dog, and they go on adventures with this magic key that's on their dog's neck, and they teach you how to read. So they had lots of different levels. As far as I can remember, it was like red was level 1, blue was level 2, green was level 3. But I kept getting in trouble because I was reading ahead of the level that my year were meant to be on. And I can really clearly remember that, just as soon as I finished one of them, just picking up and devouring the next one while sitting in either reception or year 1. So that's definitely the first books that I can remember actively picking up and really enjoying by myself. Question 2 is the first book you remember having your parents read to you. I'm tossing up between 3, either Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Milne, Peter Rabbit by Beatrix Potter, or the Bramley Hedge series, because my granny used to read to me a lot when I was younger, and those are ones that I just really strongly connect to her in my mind. It was probably Winnie the Pooh, because I've got a lot of Winnie the Pooh things from when I was like newly born. Like I have a little stuffed toy, I've got a little like glass plaque thing, and lots of different Winnie the Pooh things, so it was probably that. But my memories of Peter Rabbit from when I was younger are really strong as well, and I still have my Bramley Hedge set. It's up in my parents' loft, I know exactly where it is, but it's like a box set and it's got loads of the different Bramley Hedge stories in it, and they were just so quaint and lovely, and they've had such beautiful illustrations in them as well, and I can remember Granny reading those to me, and I can also remember just devouring them by myself as well. I'm gonna have to get that box set down and read them with Sophia and Ezra when they're a little bit older, because I think they would also enjoy them. They're just lots of animals, and animals are great. The next question is a book you read because of your parents or because of a friend. I've decided to go with Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone because this isn't the kind of book I probably would have picked up by myself. I mostly read animal stories. As I just mentioned, animals are great. We've already had a rabbit, a bear, a menagerie of animals, and a dog mentioned so far in this video. So as you can tell, I mostly read books that had animals in them. And I mean, Harry Potter has an owl, so there is an animal in this one, but you can't see that on the cover. So I didn't know that going into this. But my mum bought me this. It's like the fancy schmancy edition. It's got like, it's really beat up, but it's got like foiling and foil stars and stuff on the front cover. And she bought it for me because she thought it looked interesting, and I read it. I read the first 2 when I was really little. I read the 3rd one as well, but I didn't get any further than that. But I definitely only picked these up because my mum bought them for me, because otherwise I think I probably would have skipped them. I did enjoy them though. I've never been a massive fan, but I enjoyed them. The next question is your favourite book from school. For this one I've gone with Stone Cold by Robert Swindoll. This is a kind of modern classic, recent classic, about a homeless boy whose homeless friend goes missing, and he thinks that bad things might have happened to Ginger, so he has to investigate his disappearance. And I've put this on because it's the first one that I can remember reading that I actually would have actively read by myself. It was kind of gripping, it was very gritty, and it wasn't the kind of book that you would have imagined reading in a class. I never thought that we'd be reading about like youth homelessness in a class, and it just really impacted on my mind because of that. It's one of the only ones that I can remember exactly where I was sitting. I can remember the teacher reading it. I can remember us going around the class and reading like other different little sections by ourselves and just really wanting to get to the next section and like to read ahead so that I knew what was going on. I'm also tempted to put The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe in here because that short story really stuck itself into my mind. I had no idea who had written it. I couldn't remember. Couldn't remember the name of the story. Couldn't remember the author's name. I just knew that there was a story about a guy who was like hearing this heartbeat under the floorboards, and that mental image was in my head for like 4 or 5 years, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna have to Google it, and I eventually found Poe. 2019 I read his entire short story and poetry collection, so I have since read all of his work, and some of his stories are like proper bangers. Like, that's not how you should really describe a classic, that was not eloquent at all, but honestly, like, some of them feel like modern day murder mysteries because they are so interesting. The Death at the Rue Morgue, I think, is the one that I'm mainly thinking of. I might have butchered the title slightly, but The Telltale Heart, very solid story, and if you're looking for a short story that really sticks with you, that is one I would recommend. Also, we read that in a class when we were like either 12 or 13, and I definitely feel like we shouldn't have been reading that until we were a bit older. That's probably why it like stuck in my mind so well, but I loved it. The next question is your favourite book from primary school. For this one, I've gone with Into the Wild by Erin Hunter. So this is the first book in the Warrior Cat series, and this follows a cat called Rusty. I was going to say Rusty, and I was like, no, it's definitely not Rusty. A cat called Rusty as he joins up with the clans and becomes a warrior cat. And he goes from being a house pet to being one of the wild cats in the forest near his old home. And I just love them. I think this was like my first taste of fantasy. Like, not only are you following these cats, but they've got these kind of political schemes going on. There's like quite a few coups. There's a lot of battles between the clans, so there's some war scenes and like quite intense fight scenes, and it's just a really easy way to get into fantasy. Considering I didn't really start reading fantasy properly until like a couple of years ago, it's surprising that I loved these as much as I did. They're still going to this day. There's like, God, must be like 36 of them now, I think, including all of the ones that expand the world. But I've read the first 13 or 14 straight. I need to reread them. I reread this one with Sean and he really enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much second time around, but then I am a lot older now, but then I think I would still enjoy the ones later on as much as I did enjoy this, because I don't know what happens in those ones. But yeah, this was definitely my favourite when I was younger, and also that's why I'm like still actively collecting these. I literally hauled some of them last month because I found some at a jumble trail cheap. So I'm still actively collecting this series. This is definitely the one that's like stuck with me the most from when I was a child in primary school. The next question is your favourite book in secondary school. This has to be Looking for Alaska by John Green, because not only did it make me cry, first book that I can remember making me cry, I weeped for days. Every time I thought about it, I cried. I reread passages just to make myself cry more. I returned the book to the library and then forced my boyfriend at the time to drive me to Waterstones, where they did not have a copy, so I cried some more. I was like reading all of the quotes on Tumblr and crying, and then I finally found a copy in Tesco's, took it home, highlighted the crap out of it. I do not highlight books, I do not write in books, but I highlighted the crap out of that copy. And I just like had it in the bottom of my school bag, just like bashed up and carrying it around, just so I could cry on a daily basis. So that was definitely the book that impacted me the most when I was a young adult, and when I was a young adult, I'm still pretty much a young adult, let's be honest. That definitely impacted me the most when I first read it in secondary school, so I'm calling that as my favourite book of secondary school. The next question is the book you gave up on as a kid that you would like to revisit. I'm torn on this one because I know exactly what it is, and it's Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. But I don't stand with J.K. Rowling. I don't agree with her opinions on trans folk, and I don't agree with the public statements that she has been making over the last 12 to 24 months. So I would like to eventually finish these, mostly because I haven't loved any of the first three. The third one's my favourite one, but I haven't like actively loved them, and I just think it would be nice to finish off the series, see how I like them, and then possibly consider donating them or unhauling them, because at the moment I'm hanging on to them just because I think I'll finish it off eventually. Even if it's me reading it to Sophia and Ezra when they're a bit older, because they're probably going to be interested in it, because lots of people are still very, very intensely obsessed with this series. And I keep thinking, like, I will finish it off eventually, and that's why I'm hanging on to them. And also because Mum gave me the first two. But if I finish the series and overall I have not enjoyed it, Mum will not begrudge me if I get rid of the first two. Or I can just keep the first two for those memories and get rid of the other 5. And I just think it's like a classic series and people love it so much, and I feel like I should finish it off eventually. It's very big. I've tried it either 3 or 4 times and only got about 100 pages in every time, the first of which was when I was younger, then when I was a teenager, and then a few years ago. And I would like to get through it, but also it's conflicting because part of me just wants to pretend it doesn't exist anymore, but that's not really possible, is it? Because bookish people love this. Yeah. There's something to be said about, like, death of the author, but it's hard. It's a hard one to decide on. So I'm going to answer this, but whether I ever actually do pick it up, probably not likely. I also try to talk about her as little as possible on this channel, but I feel like the Harry Potter books are so intrinsically linked with childhood that it's really hard not to mention in this tag, which is frustrating. The next question is the book you checked out the most from the library as a kid. Well, I only really checked out each book once, but I did check out one author a hell of a lot. R.L. Stein. So you can probably see over here, going literally out of frame because we've got that many. Sean and I have been trying to collect the Goosebumps books because we would like to reread them. And the one I've picked to show you today is Full Moon Fever, which is part of the series 2000 books. I remember really loving this series in particular, and the fact that we've only got 2 of these is really annoying. So we need to try and get more of those at some point because I did really enjoy the series 2000s. Sean has read the Horrorlands. I think I haven't read those yet, so we're thinking of possibly doing something with those later in the year towards Halloween. But R.L. Stein was just one of those authors that I could literally read his shopping list and not feel bored. And I'm hoping that will still translate as an adult because I did love these so much when I was younger, and I must have borrowed like at least 100 of his books when I was really small. From Fear Street up to The Nightmare Room up to the series 2000s. So there were lots and lots of his that I borrowed, so he has to be the answer for this question. The next question is the book that made you love reading. Now, I honestly cannot remember a time when I didn't love reading, because as I said, like, I can literally remember sitting there with the Magic Key books when I was like either 3 or 4 and just devouring them. But what I'm going to say is Animal Ark by Lucy Daniels. So this was a collection of books that were all about different animals in trouble. So you had like a cub in the cupboard or an owl in the office, and Mandy and James had to save them. And I read hundreds of these, probably close to on par with the Goosebumps. But not only did I read these ones, but I wanted to own these ones because they were animals. And I can remember getting shoes fitted at Clark's and hating the experience and like basically blackmailing Granny and saying I would only like get my shoes fitted if we got to go to Smith's afterwards and buy some Animal Arks. And I've still got that one. That was Hog in the Hallway. I think it was like hedgehogs. And these are ones that I want to revisit with the babies when they're older. I've actually been actively buying these again recently because I found 4 for £2 in a charity shop last month and I got so excited because they were in such good condition. But these are the ones that I can remember really absorbing me in the world and just wanting to be in this story a lot. So, Animal Ark for this answer. Some of these are really, really difficult though. I've actually added my own question next because the next 2 questions are favourite middle grade and favourite YA book, but I wanted to shine a light on my favourite picture book, which at the moment is Charlie Chooses by Lou Peacock and Nicholas Slater. This was in Curiosity last month, and as you can see, we have read it a lot. So this is mostly for Ezra and Sophia. My personal favourite picture book would be Giraffes Can't Dance because Gerald is a saint, and don't bully him because he can't dance, because he can. Giraffes can dance, Mo Hecker. But yeah, Charlie Chooses is absolutely glorious, and if you have a little one and you haven't picked this up yet, I would highly recommend it because it's about a little boy called Charlie and he can't choose, and then he decides he wants a dog for his birthday, and it's just glorious. And this is one that Sophia and Ezra, we will read to them over and over and over and over again. Nosy Crow also have free audiobooks in the front of their books, so you can like scan them and have the audiobook read to you, and that's quite nice if you've read this 7 or 8 times in a row and you just need like a 10-minute break. It's nice that you can just put that on in the background as well. So I just wanted to give this a shout out and shine a light on my favourite picture book as well. Also, shout out to Pumpkin Soup. Can't remember what it was about. I just remember absolutely loving the illustrations, and I've still got my copy of that from when I was a child. So, shout out to Pumpkin Soup as well. So, as I said, the next question is your favourite middle grade. Pinch of Magic by Michelle Harrison. This whole series, the Widdowson Sisters trilogy, is glorious, and I love them. And they're not only stunning to look at, but they're stunning stories. And I want more from Betty, Fliss, and Charlie. And I'm so gutted that it's only a trilogy, but I am looking forward to reading more of Michelle Harrison's writing in the future, because it's very whimsical and magical, and it will appeal to a wide audience. And for my favourite YA book, I was actually going to say Asking for It by Louise O'Neill, but that's what Aoife chose, so I am not going to steal her answer. I'm going to say It Only Happens in the Movies by Holly Bourne, because Holly Bourne does not get enough love on BookTube, and It Only Happens in the Movies is one of my particular favourites. This is about a girl who, like, she loves films, but she doesn't like romance films, as far as I can remember. Because she, like, hates all of the movie cliches, but this guy, like, ticks off basically every box, but she still ends up falling for him. And it's about, like, actually looking at what the media is spoon-feeding you, and whether somebody standing with a jukebox outside your window in the middle of the night, or throwing rocks at your window, or turning up on your doorstep after filming your wedding video with, like, placards telling you how much he loves you. Like, whether that's actually cute or whether it's a little bit creepy. So this one's really fun, and I think this one is a great one for people, like teenage people, to read. I do think that Holly Bourne's books should just be recommended reading for everybody of that age, because I could have said The Place I Cried in Public, I could have said Am I Normal Yet? I could have said Are We All Lemmings and Snowflakes? There are so many amazing Holly Bourne books. Stop sleeping on her. The next question is the first long series you read as a kid. The Rainbow Magic books by Daisy Meadows. I was a mess. I didn't know how to stop. I stopped enjoying the books and I carried on getting them out of the library in order. There's like 150 or something of them now, and I was still like reserving it and waiting for the next one to come in so that I could read them in order, even though there was no continuity whatsoever and it really did not matter. But I must have got up to about book 70 or 80, and this was when I was like either 13 or 14 and I really wasn't enjoying them anymore, but just because I'd started reading them when I was young, I had to carry on reading them. I'm going to try not to get Sophia and Ezra into these ones because they're very repetitive and I just think it would annoy me having to reread them. But like I can see that they're good to like dip in and out of, but if you're intensely reading the whole series in a row, stop that. The next questions are, how did you learn to read and how old were you? As I said, I think it was either 3 or 4, and it was definitely when I was reading with my granny because she just read to me all the time and I picked it up really quickly apparently. And the last question is, how obsessed were you with the Scholastic Book Fairs? And I can say 100% obsessed. I didn't often have the money to spend on the books there. I can remember buying Cressida Cowell's How to Speak Pirate, thinking it was the first book in a new series, and then getting really disappointed when I realised it was book 9. So I've still never read that, but I do still own it. But I can remember coming home with like the stickers from the book fair, like sticking them on my living room door. My granddad only took those down a couple of years ago as well, so that shame haunted me. But yeah, it was Scholastic Book Fairs were always a great time. Sean couldn't remember them. Sheltered childhood apparently. So I was just sharing all my experiences of them with him, and I think I got on his nerves a little bit because he was jealous. Don't hate me because you ain't me. But anyway, that was the childhood book tag. If you would like to take part in this tag, then please do, and then link your videos down below so that I can see them. I'd love to see your answers to this as well. If you liked this video, please give it a like, and if you'd like to subscribe, I'd be super duper grateful. We post new videos every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday, so we will be back in a couple of days with some more content for you. And yeah, bye!